Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Drink it in, man. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread! Drink it in, man.
Detroit Kool-Aid, what is going on, everybody? We are here on a Friday for the Detroit Kool-Aid cast, and we are back. And I've got the one and only Grifka here. Grifka, what's going on?
Hey, just getting ready for this big game against Seattle. Big win that we got to have.
Every week, it's a big game in the NFL, Grifka. So what's on your mind this week to kick us off? What are you thinking?
Well, just bring up a couple things that we saw this week. I know earlier this week we talked about the Snacks trade, but I kind of wanted to get. I know we don't like to talk about other teams, but I know one person I brought up last week was Amari Cooper. You know, if you think the Lions should trade for him, and I saw that he got traded to Dallas for a first-round pick, which personally I think is a little steep. I just want to get your thought on that. Do you think that was steep, or do you think the Lions should have made a play for that?
I definitely don't think the Lions should have made a play. I mean, I think not only are we set at receiver, but we have enough skill guys to go around. But I mean, just in my quick take on it, like I liked it for Dallas. I mean, we brought up our buddy Chuck Dog on the show before. I know he's listened in the past. I don't know if he's out there listening, but I shot him a message right away, and I was excited about it. He was like, "Oh, I get way too much, terrible trade," and I'm like, "You need a receiver. You got a guy that's produced the NFL. He's been in the league. He's only 24. He seems like he has a great temperament to get along with Dak and the other crew there. And he's a playmaker, so I loved it. But, I mean, a first-rounder is a lot, but that's exactly what you needed, and I think he's going to do great there. So that's my short take on it.
Yeah, myself, I thought it was just, like I said, I thought it was way too much. I just know it's one of those things where it can affect the Lions down the road, considering the Cowboys beat them, can affect their playoffs for this year. So any team that beat the Lions where they might have to go head to head and in a spot for the playoffs, I don't like to see them improve, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that's just my quick take on them. But once again, I just thought it was pretty expensive to give up for Amari Cooper there. And then kind of the same thing. I mean, no, I haven't really heard anything else on any injuries. I know we talked about injuries on the last podcast, but it still kind of seems like status quo. Nothing's really changed. Same guys, like the practicing, read that Ziggy and Theo and same guys as before, but Ziggy's out there just not doing a whole lot. It's the typical sweatpants. I believe is what their terminology is, that, out there in sweats and a helmet, not running through a whole lot of drills. So, you thinking that he may play on Sunday, or are we still kind of hoping there?
I mean, it's a hope for now. I mean, I was pretty surprised for him to again go through like a week of practice. Everybody kind of maybe coming off the bye, going on this road game. Warm weather. Maybe this is a chance to get him out there, get some reps at least, depending on his workload. And just to see him be ruled out, and not even a late rule out. It was like a rule out on like a Thursday, Friday. That definitely did surprise me. Just because I was kind of, as good old Jim Schwartz used to say, I thought he was trending upward, trending in the right direction to play. And it just didn't happen. So I'm thrown for a loop again of where he's at in this rehab. Is it a precautionary measure? Is he just like practicing and then later in the week he's sore and he's not ready? I don't know, but again, without getting into a Grifka versus Oakley rant, every week I'm pulling for this guy to play. Even if he comes back and plays and gets hurt again, I'd be fine with that more so than just this practice, then don't play, continue to pay him, continue to be in this no man's land. Like, I want to see 94 out there. I think he's an impactful guy in the rush game, and I love how he plays the run defense. I think Snacks Harrison can only help this guy, and Ziggy and Snacks added to this team could make it into an upper mid-level defense right away, which I think is what we're hoping to have here in Detroit.
Yeah, once again, it would be nice to see him out there. And like you said, we don't want to get in a tirade, but guess I'll harken back. Do I want him to play? Yes. Do I expect him to play? No. So, hope to see him out there, but don't think he will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trending your way of just like, I guess I'd be surprised if someday it's just like Ziggy's active, because it just hasn't happened. But I mean, it's been a while now. I mean, depending on if he didn't have to have surgery and all that kind of stuff, like, I mean, 6+ weeks just kind of resting up the shoulder or whatever he's got going on. That seems like enough time to get back rolling. So, as surprised it'd be if he'd play, I think it's got to be becoming about time. If it's not this week, I'm thinking one of those big road division games is when you see him, and whatever we get out of him is a bonus. At this point, right?
Right. And I believe it's to that point. There's certain points in the season where you can put a guy on IR, and then they can come back. I mean, they changed the rule, I believe, a year or two ago. But there's a certain point in the season once the guy goes on IR, he can't come back. So I can't remember exactly what week it is, but it might be one of those things like, it won't be so bad. They kind of keep dragging it out. Can you play? Oh, no, I'm still down. But they obviously didn't want to put him on IR and, waste a spot until, gosh, I can't remember what week they can come back, but it's like 8 or 10, week 8 or 10 or something like that. But there's a certain point in the season, once you put them on IR, they're lost for the year. So they obviously think that he can come back here within the next week or two. So,
yeah, I think it's like once you go on, you have to wait out 8 weeks, which somebody brought up on Twitter that had they done that right away, this would be right about the time he'd be coming back. But like I say, they're probably just as unsure as everybody else of like, he heard it in game 1. They were hopeful for those first 4 games. It hasn't happened, and here we are, 7-8, get him back. So, I mean, I think they're just going to play that game all year long, and if he can suit up and make an impact, great. If he can't, I think they're just going to ride this game about can he play, can he not every week. Get back, Ziggy. Let's go.
Well, that's enough Ziggy talk for this podcast because I know he'll be a constant thread as we talk about him. So let's get on to this big game against Seattle that we have coming on Sunday. Pete Carroll, former Super Bowl champs from a few years ago. West Coast team coming east, man. Well, what are you thinking about this game, Derek?
Well, I'd say, what do you think, Griff? But like you said, you just hit on your stats. So you already have this as a loss for the Seahawks just based on West Coast coming east. Me, I mean, last week I was real bullish that the Lions are going and whoop that tail of the Dolphins and just not be fazed by any of the factors and just they're a better football team. They were going to play well. It wasn't a team that scared me, and that to me that felt like how it panned out. Now, in this game, I mean, Seattle is like the Lions of their division. Like, they started out kind of poor. They've kind of come back well. Some of their areas, their O-line, some of their different parts of their team are coming together. They have a playmaker at quarterback, and their defense is sort of like ours, where you look around and you're kind of thinking, well, there's not too many blue chippers, but we've always had a decent defense. We have a scheme, like, what are we? And I think the Lions are sort of finding themselves, and I don't know. I think Seattle, that's still kind of like they're part of their team where they have a couple players over there, but I feel like they can be had on defense. So I think this is going to be a real tight game. I think, I'm coming into this one confident, but also thinking that when you have Russell Wilson over there and you have a team like Seattle that has some players that have been through the wars, I mean, I expect this to be a pretty close game throughout and maybe come down to the end. But, I mean, we'll get to that later. But right. I think this can be a big game across the board.
I have a question for you. You mentioned they still have some players. I mean, do you still think they still have that mantra, that mystique of, the Legion of Boom? I mean, they still got Bobby Wagner over there and Frank Clark and Trey Flowers in the defensive backfield, and they got the Griffin brothers, which is a good story. But do you still think that, they still have that fearsome, when they were the old Legion of Boom? Do you still think of them as that? Or are they kind of more of like Russell Wilson, was like the face where, like, before when they were the Legion of Boom, I always thought it was kind of like that defensive backfield when they had Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas. That was the team right there. And then, Russell Wilson, he, I don't want to say managed the game. He was a good quarterback, but he didn't have to go out there and throw the team on his back because the defense was always there to stuff him. I mean, do you think it's kind of changed now, or do you still kind of fear that defense?
I mean, I think you know this answer, Grifka. I think everybody out there listening knows this answer. Of course not. This team's not even close to what they used to be. I mean, they used to be, across the board on that defensive backfield, and their front line, their rushers used to be, top 3-4 in the league. I mean, they've let people go. They've got injuries. I mean, not even close to what they used to be defensively. Now, has Frank Clark played great? Yeah, he was a guy I projected have him in a few leagues I do where he picked defensive players. I thought he was going to have a great year, and he's been great. Bobby Wagner is always solid in the middle, and they do have a few other players, but they've fallen off a lot on defense. They're not a defense that scares me, especially coming into our house of Ford Field. So, yeah, to me, they're much more offensive-based, and they all go through Russell Wilson. If he plays incredible, they have a great chance of winning. If he doesn't or turns the football over, yeah, their defense can't win games anymore. No chance.
I mean, their run defense is pretty decent this year. I think it's ranked pretty high. I believe I thought I read somewhere that it was somewhere roughly it was in the top 10. So I know the Lions' run game has come a long way since the beginning of the year, and actually since last year. But seeing what we've seen out of the Lions' run game this year, you believe they can still run the ball against the Seattle defense, because they're going to need to do it to win?
I think they can run it. I think this is one of those games that we're happy that we are starting to get a balanced team, and that we may revert back to what we used to do. This is a game I think you come in and you throw it more than you run it. We have skilled players on the outside. People are going to kind of look at our run game and say, they've been humming a little bit. And I don't see why we don't toss it around the yard a little bit and stretch the field and make some big plays in this game against this defense. So, if their run defense is good, which again in front of me, but I mean, if you looked at them, they have one of the still one in football. Like, going out to Seattle just is crazy. No matter what their team is like, win there. So I bet you a lot of their better games on defensive side or run game is when they're playing at home. But yeah, I mean, if they come into our house and we can't run it very well in the beginning, we'll just throw it all day then. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. And but I still think carry on and others can be effective. But if they're not creasing them like we have the past few weeks, then just let number 9 do his thing.
Yeah, I believe that we still need to run the ball, and we have to establish it to help Matt Stafford out there. But yeah, I think we can also pass on this defense. That mystique of the old Legion of Boom, I think, has went the way of the dodo. That it's not there anymore. It's somebody I don't fear these guys. I mean, still, like you said, Seattle still has a great home field advantage where they play. It's very tough to win there. They have a very raucous crowd. I mean, we've been at games where Detroit crowds have been very raucous as well. And the way this team's playing now, I believe the fans have a lot of confidence in it. I mean, you can't just say that, who'd they beat? Who'd they beat? Because to be honest with you, I mean, I don't think Seattle's 3-3 as well, but they haven't really beat anybody either. I mean, Detroit's beat some kind of big names. I mean, yeah, Miami was undefeated at home. They went down to Miami and handed them their first loss. And, Green Bay, I mean, it's Green Bay, and New England's still New England. But Seattle, I think Seattle's wins aren't that impressive this year. And like you said, they start off a little slow. But still, they haven't really beat anybody, I think, that bad. So, them coming west to east, I know you kind of joke with me about it and kind of poke at me, but still, it's a 1:00 start, and they're coming to face a team that has a lot of confidence right now. So I think this team, this offense should be able to pass on them. Just once again, keep running the ball as best you can. If carry on breaks a couple off, a couple long ones, cool. But I'm not seeing the run game, being like they did against Miami. I mean, I still think they're going to try to run the ball, but I don't see the yards that they're going to put up. I don't think they're going to just keep running into a brick wall if they're not running it. Of course, they're still going to have to run the ball to keep the defense honest, but I could see them just using the run game more of a, as a, like you said, use a run to set up the pass in this one. That's what I believe they're going to need to do.
Now, Griff, I heard what you said, but I got to admit, I'm sure not the only one, the people out there. I kind of lost you or tuned you out when you said it went the way of the dodo. First of all, isn't it went the way of the dodo bird? And second of all, who says that?
I
I haven't heard.
I hear
has
that
anybody said
that
in real
cliche all
life?
the time, and I always hear it the way of the dodo. I never hear the way of the dodo bird. But I've never
Who
heard it
says
the way of the
that?
dodo bird, because when people
Yeah,
ask
but
you what's a dodo, you're like, oh, it's an old bird that was on an island, and all the explorers killed them all because they couldn't fly and they were too stupid to run away from them. I mean, it was just, I've never heard the dodo bird. I've always heard the way of the dodo. So
who? I want to know for the people who in your life says, "Hey, it went the way of the dodo." Like,
well,
you have
what
a
am I
friend
supposed to
that
say?
says that family?
It went to the way of the Mayan civilization. What do you want? The same way as the Aztecs? I mean, what? I mean,
No, I want to know in your life in 2018 who says that to you. Nobody says that.
okay. I mean, I guess I still say it, and I can still be the one. I'm fine with that. Excuse me. I'm not a camp follower like you. Whatever's popular, Mr. ESPN. What's ESPN say is the greatest thing happening right now? They got to be the best. Okay. You know, so okay. I'm sorry, I'm not Mr. ESPN. I mean, I have other cliches I use. Whatever, Mr. John Calipari is the greatest coach of all time because ESPN said so. I mean, what do you want from me? You know?
What are you talking about? Is ESPN lingo? I'm just trying to get over this phrase you dropped, and then the fact that you didn't know it was the way of the dodo bird, and that was just dodo.
I've never heard anybody
is.
say. I've never heard anybody ever use the cliche "the way of the dodo bird." I've always heard it said
the
just
cliche.
the way. I've always heard the way of the dodo because everybody knows what a freaking dodo is. They don't have to say dodo bird. I mean, okay, well, yeah, okay.
That's the thing. Like, again, nobody says it in normal society, but when they do, they say, by the way of the dodo bird. They don't just say dodo. I didn't even I thought you just didn't know it. But anyway, sidetrack for the people.
That's the way I've always heard the cliche. So okay, that's fine. Once again, reasonable minds can differ.
Oh man, what a phrase! I have never heard anybody say that in real life. So,
if you've never heard anybody say it in real life, why are you critiquing me using it? No, this is the way it's said. Even though I've never heard anybody say that before, that makes zero sense to me. I've never heard anybody say it before, but here's the cliche. Okay, I've never heard anybody say it, but here's the cliche. You're going to tell me when you don't say it, you've never heard anybody else say it. That doesn't make an ounce of sense to me.
I think like a movie from the 50s, and they definitely.
Wait, hold on. You actually threw a movie on in the 50s? I mean, do you remember stuff? I can't see you watching a movie from the 50s.
I don't know. It crossed my vernacular somehow, but I know it wasn't dodo, and I know nobody in my workplace or my church or my sports realm says went by the way of the dodo.
Because you hang out with a bunch of 20-year-olds and they all talk in memes and emojis and something like that. Here, I'll give you sad face crying or whatever because you're reprimanding me. Okay, whatever.
Oh wow! Okay, side tangent, but that was funny, man.
Okay, there you go.
Keep bringing the phrases, Griffith. That was awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, so I'll bring up something you've never heard before. That's fine. And then you'll tell me how I'm saying. Then you'll tell me how I'm saying it wrong, even though you don't say it. You've never heard anybody else say it. That's utterly amazing to me. That's awesome. That's like saying, "Hi, my name's Steve." No, you're not Steve. You're Bill. No, I'm pretty sure my name's Steve. No, you're Bill. It's just like, no, I know some Steves, and you're not a Steve. You're a Bill. I mean, what? Okay. Anyway.
Oh man. Yes.
Anyway. You brought up Russell Wilson still being able to make plays, and I feel that the Seattle offensive line. I mean, there was much of a line the last few years, but they are improved this year. And was it Russell Wilson throwing the balls? Lockett, who's pretty fast. Baldwin's got great at set of hands, but old man Brandon Marshall's on that team too. So I believe you said that you think Brandon Marshall's going to have to be one to carry this game. Am I correct in that? Not Brandon Marshall, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell Wilson has to win the game, definitely.
Okay, you think he's going to do it just by passing? Or you think Seattle's going to be able to run the ball, even though we don't? I mean, it's not known yet if Snacks will play on Sunday, but you think Carson's going to be able to run the ball against Detroit's defense, or Russell Wilson's going to have to be throwing the ball all over the field?
Now this is the question I was waiting for, Grifka. So Russell Wilson, to me, here's the thing. The last few years, he's been playing playground ball where he just runs around, makes plays, does all this stuff. As they've kind of been redoing their team, we're getting some skill guys. They're kind of figuring out what they want to do on offense. So they drafted a first-round pick in Rashad Penny, and he has both not produced and not played. And so now they have Carson. Who's the other guy? Mike Davis or something like that that's been making plays for them?
Yeah.
In the run game. So they have these two guys in front of their rookie that they're playing. Like, this is my biggest worry about this football game is that they use this kind of three-headed running back and they try to just pound us into oblivion and just run it where we can't stop it well enough to get off the field, and they put up points. And then Russell Wilson nowadays doesn't run around as much. He's getting pretty good protection, and he throws the football and makes plays just in the pocket. He's been really putting the ball on Tyler Lockett, and Doug Baldwin was out for a long time. I mean, he's no spring chicken. There's a phrase for you, Grifka, but he has come back,
sure it's spring
and he's
chicken?
ready to go.
I think I've heard it other ways before.
Yeah, you got to say the chicken part, just like the dodo bird, Grifka.
No, everybody knows what a dodo is. Read a book.
I'm actually pulling it up as we talk. Let's get the history on this phrase. But so I think what you're going to see is a lot of heavy run game. I think Rashad Penny can have a big game out of the woodwork where everyone's like written him off. The guy's a good player. He can really run the football. He's not that great in protection. And I think if we don't get to Russell Wilson, he'll just stand there and slice us up. He'll make a few plays with his legs, but yeah, I think that they're going to go heavy run, and I think that Russell Wilson is a problem in a lot of areas. So I think they're going to do a lot of both of those things you mentioned.
Now, I know the Lions have played running backs who nobody's really heard of this, they've just come out, like you said, out of the woodwork. But none of those running backs fear me. I feel that they'll be able to shut down the run, and it's going to have to be very pass-heavy for Russell Wilson. So that just leads to the Lions being able to pin their ears back and just get after the quarterback. And even though Ziggy hasn't been in there, I mean they have been getting some sacks this year. Once again, they're still in the top 10 in the league in sacks. I mean, they had 4 sacks last week against Miami. So I believe that the Lions are just going to be able to shut down that running game, and Russell Wilson's going to have to for Seattle to win the game, he's going to have to put it all on his back, and he's going to have to be able to throw the ball around, and he's going to have to be the one to make all the plays. They're just not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to rely on the run. So I think that's what I think is going to happen. Those running backs don't fear me. Russell Wilson's going to have to chuck the ball around.
Hold on, Grifka. You think the Lions are going to shut the running game down when that's been our Achilles heel?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. They don't.
How?
I mean, once again, like I said, none of those running backs really fear me. And then, I believe the Seattle offensive line's improved, but they're not Dallas's offensive line. I mean,
well, we know they don't fear you, but you don't fear them, you mean?
Right? Yeah, of course they don't fear me. I know that. I get calls I get calls from 2:30 in the morning saying, "Mike, they don't fear you." I'm like, yeah, I know that. Why would they fear me?
I don't know. That's what you said. So I was just telling the people that, of course, they're not scared of you or the dodo bird, but I think that we should be scared of them because you ever seen Chris Carson run the football? He's an absolute beast.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these absolute beasts that we always have to, hear about, but yeah, he's okay. He's okay.
How'd that go last time we played a beast and we knew going in it was going to be a beast running back?
Are we
do there?
Are you comparing Chris Carson to Ezekiel Elliott?
I'm not comparing the two players. I'm comparing, hey, how'd it go last time we knew we had to shut down the run
you are.
game?
You're calling him a beast. And you said, when's the last time we played somebody that had a beast running back? So you're putting them both in beast status, so you're comparing the two. That doesn't, once again, makes no sense. You can't throw them in the same bucket and say, well, no, they're not the same running back. Well, they're both a beast. Okay.
You can both be a beast and not be the same running back, Grifka. Like Ezekiel Elliott's a special talent, a top 5 running back. Chris Carson is a beast, meaning he'll run it up your face and stomp on you when he goes past you kind of guy.
Okay.
he's hard to tackle and he makes plays, and so does Mike Davis or whatever. And Rashad Penny is slippery, athletic. He can take it to the house on you. Like, that's what I'm worried about. They got 3 guys like that are going to pound us, and one guy that everyone forgot about that's a heck of a good young running back.
Okay. I don't think it's going to happen, but I believe, once again, a lot of it leads to that West Coast team coming east. They just won't be on point. Detroit will be able to stem the offensive run. They know they got to stop the run and make Russell Wilson beat him with the pass, so they're not going to hang back and just let the running game tear them apart. That's not going to happen. So,
but all I'm telling you is that's a cosmic shift you're doing, because we've had games this year where we knew we had to stop the run game, and we're still 30th in the league, 31st. Like, it has not consistently happened yet. Have we been better the last couple games? Yeah, but for you just to think that we're going to shut this run game down and make, like, to me, again, that's a little bit backwards, because, like, why would you go into a game, every coach says we got to stop the run, we got to run the football. Like, if you stop the run, that means you're letting Russell Wilson, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the game, make all the plays and decisions. Like, I don't know if I want that.
So you'd rather have 6 guys in the box and keep a deeper defensive backfield, is what you're saying, and just allow them to run the ball then, is what you're trying to say?
I think they're going to struggle, as they have all year, to sort of get this run game under control, but I'm more okay with that than letting Russell Wilson throw it 40, 50 times, because I think he's one of those special quarterbacks that can hurt you in lots of different ways. So I'd almost rather have them run it, but I don't know that we're going to be able to lock it up. I think it might be a long day if we're going to have to deal with 3 heavy type running backs coming at us all day, is all I'm saying. So I think that's why I said I think it's going to be a close game, because either way you go, it's not really that great. I mean, I don't think Seattle's a tremendous football team, but I think they have a pretty solid, beastly running game, and I think that their signal caller, he's good, man. He's real good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell Wilson's a very good quarterback, and he can, carry a team, but I just don't think this team is where it used to be. I don't know if you're living on the mystique of Seattle, thinking of this, but no, I mean,
I already broke it down for you. I said, like, their defense isn't anywhere close to what they used to be, and I think it's gonna be a close one. But I mean, we'll get to our predictions here in a moment. But I'm not putting them on some type of pedestal. I'm just saying, like, if they only had Chris Carson, nobody else, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying. But they have a couple running backs that have been hard to tackle, and a guy that I swear, like, I do not want to come back next week and be talking about Rashad Penny having his breakout game. But I have a weird suspicion that he's been so off the radar that he's going to hurt the Lions. See, and I hope it doesn't happen.
I think the only reason you have this feeling is because you liked him so much in the draft. And then
because he's really good.
He's really good, but it's gonna be week 7 for him to have his breakout game against the Lions. Because you've seen the Lions give up big runs to other teams. But isn't every game unto itself its own game? You can't live in the past like that, Derek. That's loser talk. That's loser talk,
yes.
Man. You got to
right.
be positive here, man. I'm trying to bring you over to the positive side. You're starting to sound like me way too much.
No, not at all, because as you said, every game is to their own. So what I'm saying is, Grifka, if you listen, that everybody is been down on Rashad Penny. Why? Oh, he hasn't been good his first 6 games in the NFL. Does that wipe out his draft pedigree? Does that wipe out, like, the fact that this guy can, if given the football in Ford Field against a not so good run defense, depending on if we add snacks or not? Like, I think just like any good player, yeah, they could have 4 or 5 bad games. If they have the talent, yeah, he could come out and hurt us. I don't know if they'll get him the football, but I know that if he's given a bunch of opportunities, not only is he off the radar of others, but I think that I'm just saying he could create a problem, and I don't see why he couldn't have a big game.
See, I just think you feel that way because you're so high on him. That you were high on him in the draft, and yeah, because he hasn't exploded against somebody, so you're still really wary that he's going to do it to Detroit because you were so high on him in the draft. Like, oh, I know what he can do, but I guess I just don't feel the same way about it. I mean,
and here's your thing. I can't totally quote it, but I want to say that he was in your range of like a running back you would have been okay with the Lions taking. Like, why would you be not so worried about him just because he has started out slow or hasn't got the opportunities? Like, what's his career over now? He lost everything that.
well, no.
I mean, he led the NCAA in rushing. I mean, was that a mistake?
Well, once again, if you were that good, you wouldn't be sitting behind Carson and Davis. So, okay. I mean, we talk about this with other guys. If you were that good, you'd be playing. You would have gotten your opportunity. So obviously, we're not sitting out in Seattle watching the practices and seeing what the coaches see. But if you were that good, you'd be on the field more and you would be producing. So, sorry.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Like I say, I still let's kind of move it forward, but also like we're here to talk about our Lions, and all I'm saying is defensively, the Lions need to watch out both for the run game. Don't write off this running back, which everybody else has forgot about, and know that you're going to be in for a long day because these guys don't run, the wide. They don't run screen. They run up the middle. They run hard, and they're hard to bring down. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, I think a game plan like that, where they don't have to, try to get to the outside, everything, up the middle. I believe they'll be able to shut down these running backs because, even though you call them beastly, I don't think Seattle's offensive line, it's improved, but it's not as good as Dallas. And Zeke Elliott is much better than their running backs. So he's a better running back.
He's definitely better. And like before we started the show, I heard other shows saying that Seattle's line is actually up in the top 10 now, but it's more of a pass blocking type line, more so than a run game. So they do seem to be, doing better in the pass blocking area. But, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not putting Chris Carson in the Pro Bowl. I'm just saying that I've seen him before, and I kind of like his style. So we're going to have to deal with him. And our defense has played better. And if we have Snacks in the middle and we have Jared Davis healthy, I think that, that's going to be a big concern is dealing with that and chasing around Russell Wilson all day if he does get outside the pocket.
Okay. I just got one more question for you on this game before we get to our prediction. I know I was reading some stuff earlier this week, and guys like Golden Tate are like, "Oh, it's just another game. It's just just another game to us." But do you think this game means a little more to Tate and Shed and Wilson, former Seahawks?
I don't think so. I think that that only happens, in my opinion, when like a guy either had a falling out with a team or when it's the year after. Like probably the year after Tate left Seattle, even though I think he kind of, for the most part, left on his own accord. Like they didn't really totally go after him, but he got good money from the Lions, went there. I mean, maybe that first time, if you're facing them that year, you got a little burr under your saddle, and you're like, oh man, I want to beat my old teammates or whatever. But we're so far down the road that, I don't think there's any bad blood really there, and I don't think that that's really on their minds. Just another team on the schedule.
Yeah, that's like I said. I don't think any of these guys left in bad blood. It wasn't a trade they didn't want, or they didn't get to touch the field, so they demanded a trade, and like I said, no hard feelings. So, and I mean, at this point, I think some guys know business is business. I mean, they all seem to. And it was an amicable split, with those guys from that team, and it wasn't like a Khalil Mack thing where, for some odd reason, John Gruden came in and just seemed like he just didn't like him from the jump, or even like at this point, Patrick Peterson at this point, out in Arizona, that he's just pretty much begging to be traded for anything. But yeah, these three.
Hold on.
What's that?
I want to jump in for 1 second because I got a hot take.
Okay.
We don't need to get on a tangent, but I want to throw this out so that people can hate me for it. I actually like what John Gruden is doing for the most part. And here's why. Because there's so many people that talk about when you come in, new regime, new everything. Hey, if you're not like going to win a championship, what should you do? Tear it down, get a bunch of draft picks, or rebuild the team how you want to build it with young talent? I feel like he's doing that and then getting killed for it. So, like, I think if he hits on his draft picks and if he continues to sort of trade away and add properly, that in a couple of years, people are going to look back and say, wow, we thought he had totally lost the team and I think that they might come out with a sick, young, aggressive, just nasty team the next few years. So that's a side take just on where everybody else thinks this guy's a buffoon, and I kind of like what he's doing.
Like you said, just piggyback on your comment, the teams that he's actually trading with as well. I think the picks are going to be. I mean, I don't think they're all going to be all top 10, but I think all three of them, they're going to have 3 top 15 picks. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears. I think the Bears were all smoke and mirrors early. I mean, the last couple of weeks we've kind of seen what they are. I think the Cowboys. They're never in sell-off mode, obviously, but I don't think I don't think the Cowboys team's all that great. I mean, for them to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win the East. So honestly, I think all 3 of those picks could be top 15 picks. So you're right. Get your bell out, but I'm in agreement with you on that.
Awesome, because I was just going to say, hey, Grifka, here's one for you. I tend to agree with you on that one.
Sweet. I like that. Thank you. It's nice when you agree with me.
It happens every once in a while.
Okay. So let's do this now. We kind of broke it down, and you sounded like you were a little worried about this game. So why don't you give me a score? How do you think this one's going to turn out?
Yeah, man. So for me, when I'm predicting this football game, I think it's we're back at home. We got some mojo. We got a team coming in that, like you said, has had success in the past, which to kind of sort of live off that mystique, but is it really there? I see this game sort of being. I see it being closer, as I've said previously. I see it being sort of maybe more of a smash mouth game than you would think, of kind of a lot of running, a lot of tough football, kind of a lower type score. I could also see a little bit of if Stafford and Russell Wilson got rolling, I could see it, some points going up on the board too. So I'm a little torn there. But if I got to predict this game, I'm going to go with a tight game. It's coming down to the fourth quarter. Who makes the plays? I think that we haven't seen it yet. I think 9 has enough mojo where he makes the final play, whatever it is, final drive, a really big throw, a nice decision, kind of helps close this game out. So Stafford making a big play. I don't know if it's a comeback victory, but I think it's going to be Lions 24, Seattle 21.
Yeah, that's pretty close. I see it once again. I know I'm going to say it again. I mean, West Coast team coming east, 1 o'clock start. They're going to be sleepy. They're going to be lethargic at first. That's something that Detroit's going to have to pounce on. I know it seems like in the past, it seems like this might be one of those games where, like you said, the Lions got some bravado, might be a little full of themselves, may not take Seattle a little seriously, but might think this might be one of those games where they could slack off just a tiny bit. But I don't think Matt Patricia is going to allow them to do that. I think they're going to work on jumping on them early because he knows. I mean, what it's like for West Coast teams to come east. I mean, it's not a hidden joke. It's not mythical.
Automatic loss.
It helps, but I mean, it's happened before. West Coast teams come east and win games, but I don't fear Seattle's running game as much as you do. I mean, you're a love affair with all their running backs, but I think this one. I know I said it before. I think 10 points is a lot. And a lot. 10 points is a blowout. But I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say the Lions are going to win this one. I'm going to say 27 to I'll say 27-14 on this one. I'm going to pick the Lions to win 27-14.
I like that. So really all it takes, Griff, is for me for yell at you sort of or give you a talking to one week, and then the next week you come around. I see that seems to happen.
No,
I'm glad you're going so bold there.
It's West Coast team coming east. That means an awful lot.
Oh yeah. Where's the bit of the what's the guy LeVar Ball where he says never lost? I need like a Griff West Coast team coming east, never won. No wins, never won. Oh man, incredible! But yeah, that's a definite indicator for you. That's gonna be a tough football game. So I like you going bold on the score, though. I could see it happen.
Yeah, I believe that they're gonna have to come out early, and Matt Patricia's gonna have them do that because they're gonna have to throw some points up early, and they'll be able to hold on. Seattle's gonna have to change their game plan, and get away from that vaunted running attack that you love, and you're gonna have to throw the ball, and the Lions are gonna be able to pull this one out.
And I know we got to move on to the next segment here, but I just want to throw in real quick that I'm starting to see Matt Pat, as we call him here on the podcast, become the coach that we thought he would be. Where I said in the beginning of the year that I didn't feel like we've had a coach in a long time that could out-scheme the other side or outsmart the other team's coach. And I feel like I'm starting to see little things he's doing that, because of film study, because of just his history of playing in big games, I think he's starting to steal us some wins or just some good football out there that we shouldn't be playing just because of his prep and his experience. So I really like what I'm seeing there.
Yeah. So onward. I was watching the highlights of the games last week, and one that I kept seeing was the Minnesota at the New York Jets game, and the Jets had like their color rush uniforms on, those all greens, and I've seen a couple other games this year where teams were wearing like various styles of their uniforms, and it got me to thinking, the Lions, with their new color scheme with that they've had this year. I just want to, what's your favorite combination that they wear? Which one do you like to see the most when they're wearing it?
Oh man, this is right up my alley, Grifka, and I got tons to say on this topic, but hold on. Before I get to that, I've been looking a little bit by the way of the dodo, or the dodo bird, and it's going about 50-50 in my research here that there are people, I guess, in life that just say the way of the dodo, but there's plenty on here that says it's got to be the way of the dodo bird is how the phrase is said. And there is a blurb in here that it's rarely used by human beings. So, you're on your own on that one. But I want to update the people on the little bit of research I've done here. So,
okay.
You were right to some degree, but it's still a terrible phrase. Never use it again. Back to the uniforms, Grifka. Now, in the last probably like five-ish years or more, like I become a total jersey snob. Not only with like my home collection that I basically have nowadays, but also just like, I always want the Lions to have like either good uniforms or I have definite takes on this. So when you're asking my favorite combo, like, man, there's no doubt when they went to these new jerseys, I was like, worried about it. I had kind of grown to like the older ones that they had kind of just came out with a few years ago. When I look back at the Silverdome days, there's some great there, but when we're talking the current uniforms, like when they came out, I was a little bit like, I don't know if I like the, what's on the arms and this, that, but like I've grown to absolutely love that, just the blue and the gray or the silver, as you want to call it, like just totally looks sweet now on the field. And the best combo for me, I mean, I love the home combo, the traditional, just the blue with the gray pants, and the new helmet they got going. But like the biggest thing I fought for was like, and I don't know if you're going to ask about this later, but like when they debuted the white jerseys with the aqua pants, I hated it. I was just like, oh, that's the worst. And then I think one game they went blue jerseys with the aqua. Oh, it's the worst. Like, I don't know why they got that blue wrong. But the best uni to me right now when they go with it actually gets me psyched up before the game is when we're on the road, but it's the white crispy jerseys with the gray traditional good-looking football pants, man. That looks sweet.
Yeah, I like that one too, but I don't know, for some odd reason, like my favorite one still, out of their combinations is that home one, that Honolulu blue that they wear with the gray pants. I just like that. I know it's kind of goes back to that traditional thing. They've always kind of worn it that way, but for some odd reason, that's the one I like to stick with, and that's probably my favorite one that they wear.
There's something about these new jerseys though, like the numbers look sweet to me. Like the way they did the numbers, like new age, but it's still like not odd looking. And then I like remember how we used to always have the old nameplate where we have like the 3-tiered letters. I like just that nice silver on the back and the one color on the names and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, those really look sharp. And like the helmets have grown on me too. At first I was kind of like, I don't know about those new helmets, but yeah, they look nice.
So on top of that, I mean, you've been a Lions fan now for a little bit, and I know you've probably seen photos and videos of old stuff. So, out of all time, what's your favorite uniform design of all time? I'm talking, and in the Matt Millen, with the black piping, that, the black face mask and all that, or, which one, out of all the uniforms you've seen, which one is your favorite?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, for me, I know you say a little while. I mean, I think I'm going on quite a while now, Grifka being a diehard. But, to me, the best uniform was, probably forever will be, are when they were with the Reebok and they would go back to the classic throwbacks, man, the dark blue, the just pure silver helmets. I mean, just the basic silver pants. I mean, to me, that's a crazy basic look, which I know they don't like to do for branding and marketing. And, I'm all about that kind of stuff too. But that was such a cool look, and they only break it out every once in a while. Is probably why I liked it so much. But those throwbacks to me were the best, because they have the ones now, and I think the ones now, they lightened up the blue, and it just doesn't have the same griminess that back in, I want to say, in 2010-ish, when they went and played with the Patriots and threw those throwbacks back on that just look awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I know you don't like it when I agree, but I have to agree with you. I love those throwbacks. I mean, I think it's probably one of the top 3 throwback uniforms that anybody wears in the league. You're right. It's that basic, crisp. It's very easy to read. With when it, like you said, it was like something's changed in the blue. It was that Honolulu blue, but it was like a heavy blue. It was like, somebody held onto the crayon too long, and they really pressed into the page when they made that blue. And I just love it. It just stands out on the field so well. Sometimes the uniforms, they kind of, I don't want to say they get lost in the field or whatever, but that blue against the green football field just looked really, really cool. Especially with the helmet, like the silver helmet. And there's something about it. I know at one point years ago, every team wore, a gray face mask. And I love that. So the silver helmet with the gray face mask, with that throwback uniform, just with the block lettering on it, that didn't have the old, lions, taper on the end. And it wasn't, like that swirly, or wasn't was it called the circus numbers or whatever? I know, because they had that logo at one point. It was just, that's what I really like about it. It's still my favorite. And even now, it's just I love when they throw out, bring that uniform out, Thanksgiving when they wear it. I just love it.
It's almost the real ones I'm talking about, though. I think you're talking about the same. It's basically like a royal blue. It's like a darkish royal, or almost like a Pistons type blue, more so than the Honolulu, like you're saying. I got to show it to you, Griff. I haven't even broke it out for you, but I was able to obtain this year a game used throwback, a Reebok one, and number 40. And I'm going to try to turn it into a Jared Davis, but you got to see this thing, man. It's in my top 5 of my jersey collection right now. This thing is primo, actually game cut, worn on the field, but it's looks like it's never been touched. It's awesome. It's just a crazy good jersey. I'll have to show that to you next time I see you.
Looking forward to it. So with that being said, we talked about the uniforms, the helmet. Now the Lions helmet's pretty much changed. Hasn't changed a whole lot, which I really like. But what's your favorite helmet? Do you like just the plain silver, or do you like the one with bubbles on, or do you like the one with the current logo on?
Grifka, was it me and you, or I remember years ago where I started arguing with somebody that about bubbles, and I forget if I thought it was a real thing or the other person did, but that's just a big gimmick, right? Somebody just came up with that. It's not really Bubbles the line.
Yeah, I know, but everybody knows. If you're a Lions fan, when you say the line on the helmet and somebody says Bubbles, you're like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think that was one of the radio guys that came up with that, and then people ran with it and thought that was
because they always thing. Yeah, because they said the line. They said it looked like a cat, pawing at bubbles, floating bubbles. That's what it looked like. It wasn't attacking. It looked like it was pawing at bubbles. So that's what they were going with. So they got the nickname Bubbles. Yeah. So when you mention the name Bubbles, everybody knows what it is. So it's just easier to say that way, as opposed to the line that was on the helmet in the 80s. Everybody goes Bubbles. Everybody knows Bubbles.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I got you. I that threw me for a loop, or maybe I was arguing with somebody else that thought it was a real thing. But in my opinion, when they were going to do that logo change, and there was all that hubbub about, like, are they going to totally change it? Are they going to change the colors? Are they going to do all that? Like, I was so happy when I saw the new logo because they didn't go crazy. And, like, I probably would have even been up for a little more aggressive change, but, like, getting that, like, clear eye on the new lion, the mouth open with some fangs, and just kind of, like, a more fierce lion to me was a great move. And, you know, I think they didn't want to go too much because people would just hate, you know, the traditionalists would hate it. But I like the new one much better than the old lion, where you couldn't really make out, like, where the legs are, and like I say, it didn't really have an eye or anything. Like, to me, the new one looks way better.
Yeah, I mean, I like the new one too, but I love Bubbles, man, just because it's just, you're right, it's hard to define. It's almost kind of amoeba-esque, you know, it's just, you know, from far away, it just kind of looks like a blob on the side of the helmet. But you're right, man, some radio guy calling it Bubbles and going, no, it looks like a cat pawing at Bubbles. And you're like, yeah, it does. It doesn't look like an attacking lion. So, I don't know, I just really like Bubbles myself.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, like you say, they've been kind of crafty with their logo and their jerseys. So, like, I've been pretty happy with it. But, you know, it's always tough to switch up, you know, your logos, your colors, all that type of stuff. I think they've done it well. And, like, I know it's goofy. We've been talking for 10, 20 minutes about the jerseys, but it's important, man. Like, those traditional teams that have those great jerseys, or when you have a really nice jersey, I think it helps both players, the fans like it. I mean, nobody wants to have just an awful jersey.
Yeah, nothing's worse. I mean, what I really hate is when teams got to put, like, you know, they're obviously listening to a marketing firm designing their uniforms. Like, oh, we need to put a splash of color in here. And they put some random color in there. It's kind of like I mean, they're playing Seattle, and I like those Seattle uniforms from the 80s. Like you said, it was a little darker blue against that crisp silver. And then all of a sudden, somebody got the idea. It's just like, well, let's put a teal eye in there. And then all of a sudden, that became like their accent color, or that green. It's just like, gosh, cut it out. It looks freaking horrible. I mean, so you know, it's just, you know, somebody was looking at it and goes, oh, we need to put a splash of color here. You know, you think you try that with the Raiders uniforms? Like, oh, we need to put a splash of color in the Raider, in the pirate eye. No, please stop. You know, we don't need to do that garbage. So when teams need to do that, it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, but my thing is that there's, like, those traditional teams you don't want to mess with. There's teams in the middle that are, like, trying new things. And then there's, like, the teams on the far other side where, like, Seattle, to me, not only are their uniforms sweet, but, like, I love the redo with that really neon green, and how they They did, like, a jersey that was way different than everybody else. Like,
I hate it.
But it worked for them because Nike's
it looked
out
Arena
there.
Bowl. It looked like Arena Bowl is what it looked like when you went.
But to me, they can be the Oregon of the NFL, where, like, that doesn't fly in Detroit, that doesn't fly in Pittsburgh, or some of these other places. So it makes sense, at least, where, like, the ones that frustrate me are, like, some of the things the Jags have done to their uniforms, or, like,
Cincinnati.
You know, like, even the Tampa Bay, to me, they're always trying to redo and they can't get it right. So, like, those are the ones I think that are messing it up. But, like, if you have the aggressive teams, you have the traditional teams, and you have some that are in the middle, kind of, like, I'm fine with that. And I think that we're more on the traditional side and more on the, we're trying to be progressive and keep up with the times, but we're not going to just totally flip our colors or our logos. So I think they've overall done good with it. And like I said, I love the new unis, man. I got one of the Nike Elite Untouchable Staffords. So I rock that every Sunday, man.
Well, just a quick ending. So with all this uniform talk, we're talking about the ones that we love. What's your least favorite Lions uniform?
Oh, it's so simple, Griffin. I kind of hit on it with this new one that they went with. But it's the pictures I see of the Barry in the aqua blue Puma pants with the when they would wear, like, what would they wear? It would be like the white with the Puma aqua pants. It was garbage. It was the worst. The worst look. It's like not Honolulu blue. It's like, hey, we're team aqua white. Like, that's not Lions, man.
Me, you know what I'm going to say. Those black jerseys are freaking horrible. That's the dumbest thing in the world.
Matt Millen trying to turn him into the Raiders. Oh, we'll be tough in a black jersey. No, you know what makes you tough? Winning football games makes you tough. Not the black jersey. And then, they finally got rid of that, and they kept like the black piping and the black face mask. Like, will you get rid of that garbage? Oh God!
I know
that.
Those grew on me for like a year or two, but I agree with you. I looking back, they really don't look that sharp. And then we still
see them at games. We still see them at games. People wearing those things, like people busting out the Roy Williams. But it's like, we go throw that thing in the freaking furnace, man. That thing's ugly.
Yeah, I think I got one tucked away for nostalgia's sake. But yeah, you don't see that out in public. But I want to throw in an honorable mention for worst. And people may not agree with me because I was actually a proponent of this before they came out. I think these new all grays are terrible. I hate them. I think they look so bland, and then the numbers in white looks terrible. And the biggest thing that I hate about them is like this gray, dark gray jersey, dark gray pants, and then our helmet is that shiny silver. Like if they would have went to like a grimier helmet, it would have made more sense, like a steel gray helmet. But like it's just, I think it's a bad look. I hope it goes away soon. I hate that.
Well, at least they call it gray, and they're not stupid like the Pistons, and it's chrome. No, chrome's shiny. Those aren't shiny. It's that battleship gray, and you can't call it chrome.
But that's the problem. Our helmets are basically chrome now, and the jerseys are this gray, so it doesn't make sense. Like I was a proponent a couple years ago when they were asking for colors of like, what if we had an all, like what I called an all silver, which was like that new age kind of crazy, like almost a chrome or like the chrome Oregon helmet with like a really pimped out, or like an all white, like the Lions in all white would be crazy. But I don't know. Like I say, we're getting on a side tangent, but like I think they missed on this gray, and I just want it to go away because I just hate it. Like it just doesn't look good.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought this uniform talk went a little farther than what I thought it would, but I was happy it turned out this way. So, any other thoughts on this weekend before we wrap this up?
I only got a couple thoughts, Grifka. This is a huge football game. The Lions are playing a lot better. Everybody that had written them off is sort of now changed their tune. They're thinking they love what they're seeing from this team, from the run game. Offensive line is playing better. It's just totally flipped 360. So this is one of those games, if they want to keep that going, that they've got to get the W. Like you said, we talked a lot about the jerseys. Hopefully this is when the Lions come in with their traditional gear. They come ready to play, and they do whatever it takes to get a W on Sunday. So I think this is just a massive game on Sunday, a real one that could turn them either way. And they have a real tough stretch coming up, so we got to get this one, no doubt about it.
Definitely a big game. So why don't we get out of here?
All right, sounds good. So everybody, we've had fun today. We gave you kind of a good look at the Seattle Seahawks team. We yacked about the uniforms, past, present, maybe future, and we just enjoyed the podcast today. So everybody, get ready for this big game on Sunday. Keep drinking that Detroit Kool-Aid. Keep sharing this with friends. Keep hitting that subscribe. We love people to give us some reviews. We could really use some more reviews on iTunes. It takes about 30 seconds to do a review. Just, you like the show, what you like most. A 5-star review really helps us out. So please hit that up if you can. And we'll be ready to check you guys all next week. Hopefully talking about another W for our Detroit Lions. So for the Detroit Kool-Aid cast and for Grifka, this is Oakrey. And we're going to get up out of here. Check you guys next week.
This Sunday, I'm going to give you what you crave, what everybody here craves. Drink it in, man.